All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy.
Join the KissFAQ YouTube channel. Member perks include exclusive song story demo bites, songs of the moment with contextual introductions, document and merchandise dives, KissFAQ board topic reaction videos, early access to channel content, and hopefully lots more. Click the join button on the KissFAQ YouTube channel or follow this link. All right, wakey, everyone. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us live. There's a whole bunch of folks who are already joining us live. So, the channel, the private side of it is starting to develop. On Monday, an early access episode of Song Stories goes up. A Beacon at Midnight, which will get us started for the 50th anniversary month of Dress to Kill, which is going to be fun. There's going to be some demo stories, additional ones for the whole channel, but also early access for members for that. I can't even remember what else went up this week. So if you're so inclined, check out the channel. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of material for it, a few things each week, at least two, and we'll see how it develops. I've just lost my train of fucking thought.
My gosh.
Yeah, meat is in the mail room. Did anyone get anything new this week? Because none of the stuff that I've ordered arrived, but I was going through some of the magazines that I'd bought recently, and a ticket stub from Madison Square Garden 96 dropped out. So I was actually pretty pleased with that bonus. I have to go back and check the auction and see if it was advertised as being included. Ken, what did you buy? Anything?
Yeah, I bought this back in 1980, which is
I think he means a recent buy, but yeah.
I don't have any recent buys. So here, I just want to point out something. So this is the
Kiss, the Real Story by Peggy Tamarkin.
This is that other thing where you can't do it.
Yeah, you can't see because of the.
The struggle is real, Ken. Now you know how I feel every episode of these freaking backgrounds.
I gotta do it at the angle. Wow.
Doesn't work.
Kind of. Anyway.
You gotta kill
there it is.
There you go.
Yay, don't move.
So anyway, yeah, I remember buying this at Tower Records. I thought, I'm looking in the book section. Well, it's Tower Records, and they had the book section. It said Tower Books. So I was over there. I always kind of check out the magazines and everything else, and I saw what Kiss a book is like. So this is the first official book from Kiss. Of course, there was those other little paperbacks that were written by Kiss, or about Kiss. But this one came out. It was 1980 published. And I was gonna say it has a lot of cool pictures and stuff in it and whatnot throughout. It's pictures and large text. And the one thing that I just want to point out to Julian in here is this is coming from Kiss, right? So January.
Accurate then.
Yeah. So again, we just had that anniversary. Well, last year, right? So February 18th. February 18th, but January 8th. Let's see. Played the Fillmore. The February 18th. Where is it? I saw that the album came out. It showed that the album came out.
Oh, the album date doesn't matter. But
anyway, they were saying the 8th or something. But anyway, yeah. January 8th, 74.
Yeah, I've showed the telex that has the original wrong date being communicated to people. So there's a page in Mass Hysteria on that book and how it came to be, because originally it was going to be the David Leaf book, but they decided to go with Peggy's because it was lower reading level.
Yeah, I mean, large text like that.
So less big words, Daniel.
Not a lot to this thing, but it's all right.
Yeah, it was a cool product. Lonnie, you bought any Kiss stuff recently because you've not been around for a couple of weeks, have you?
Kiss stuff? No, I have not.
I guess I'm
you see
saving my money for these.
season?
Well, other than the $50,000,
You didn't buy
gold
one?
record that I bought. No.
Ooh.
Oh, he didn't buy one. He bought two.
Yeah.
One the play
One
and
of
one the
each,
keep
yeah.
in the box.
Wow, there's only 3 left.
Right? No. I with that price tag, I'm saving my Kiss funds because I'm sure those box sets are not going to be cheap.
Yeah. What was your thought on the 5-inch golden and plated single? Just briefly to catch everyone up.
I think it's just an attention getter, kind of like the Monster book wasn't an attention getter type thing. Like, hey, look at us, look what we're doing, type of thing. I don't know. Have they sold any of the? Did anyone buy the 50,000?
I heard one.
Really?
One.
Oh Lord.
I guess maybe it's the same one guy who bought a Monster book. I guess I really don't know. It's for the Kiss. I don't know. I mean, I guess they'll do more. Why not? If somebody's going to buy it, I bet they do more. What makes you think it's going to be a one-time thing?
Yes, and they've sold quite a few of the plated ones, so
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking that it was so high
$10
priced that they would that it's going to make the box sets seem like they're pennies.
Well, that's to be
They won't be.
determined. So Daniel,
We'll have to wait and see about that, though.
any purchases, or have you got any upcoming podcast or pod appearances coming up? Let me know. Doesn't a new season kick off?
Yeah, I'm doing an episode this week. I have a sports holiday this upcoming week.
Sports
I don't know if
holiday?
you,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I don't know.
We
what
don't
you
even get
call it.
that.
You never get that over there?
Not a
You
sports
guys,
holiday.
you
We don't
guys,
even
Shoot
get
for the
day
Super
off.
Bowl.
you
We don't even
guys
get
Should
the
be
day
the
off.
Super Bowl, right?
I mean,
But you have to call
guys
him
are
sick that day, right, Lonnie?
You don't understand how screwed you are, guys. You don't understand. You need a sports holiday in order to
I
be
agree.
able to go.
Day after Super Bowl.
Down the slope. Go for some downhill skiing. Well, however, I'm doing an episode this upcoming week because I'm off from work, and we'll be discussing a favorite album, much like we do on the rock and roll. What do we call it? The other channel.
Look, it's rock and roll.
Look, it's
Yeah.
rock and roll. It's
Yeah,
been so
exactly.
long.
It's been so long.
We need to do an episode. I
Yeah.
think.
We should, so we're doing that kind of stuff, and I'm actually going to talk about. I don't know if you see this LP back here, Rocky IV soundtrack. That's my pick.
Oh, Rocky IV.
Nice.
Rocky
Mark
IV.
is
That's
laughing.
motivational music,
It's one of
baby.
the best motivational musics
100%.
ever. Such
I
a
will
great-
break
The one
you.
with, does that have "Living in America" on it?
It does.
Yes,
Break you.
it does.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
that's
Brown.
freaking-
James
that's
Brown.
Fantastic
And
song and
the
video.
fantastic acting from the Swedish guy Dolph Lundgren as Ivan Drago.
The great acting, yes. great.
Yes.
The mean Russian. Well, so that's an upcoming episode. So if you
Break
want to
you.
listen to that,
Easy with the mean Russian talk this morning.
yeah,
Yes, there's-
we've been fighting the Russians forever over here, So I saw that
Fighting?
meeting your president had with the president of Ukraine. It went over real well. Well, no politics. Sorry.
This is not a politics channel.
It's transparent.
Yep.
Everything's
Yep.
transparent.
All right, Mark, how about you? How have you shipped all your records out yet? Have you signed them all?
Oh
Are you
God,
good
no.
to go?
Well, I've been still working on that. The posters should be coming sometime this week. But for anybody who is interested, this coming Friday on progrock.com, they'll be doing a album of the week segment on my latest album, Canada Stories and Legends. I will be in the chat room discussing with people. Those things are always fun. They always go very well. And if anybody's interested, then it's, I believe, at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time in the afternoon. And there you go. As for buying anything, I haven't gotten anything yet. I did order a couple T-shirts from Kiss online.
Oh,
So,
right. Awesome.
Okay.
I got a spam email from them yesterday. So,
that's always
About the
good.
walk. The walk. Right.
yeah, so let's get started on some of the topics. There's actually quite a bit happening at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
It's pretty fun. It's very cool. What was it? Metal Rules did an interview with Mike Stone of
Yes.
Queensryche, who had been a member of Chris, and it's actually very good. There's a lot of positivity that comes out of him about his time in both bands, because he was in Queensryche and then went back into the Reich as well. So a very good interview. Who got the chance to check that interview out, and any thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I read it all because I am a Queensryche fan, and the interesting part about that is when he recalls his time when he was with Peter Criss's band there, because he has, he had a very positive spin on everything in that interview, which is great. I mean, why do a negative thing when you don't need to? And I just found that his views on that time compared to Peter, how he talked about it in his biography, there was a little bit of a, they didn't have any bitterness toward each other, but Peter Criss was at that point where he was just dreading doing that. In his book, at least, he was saying that, and that he just was looking forward to the time that it was going to be over and done with. And when the Kiss thing happened, he was so happy. You guys read the book, you know what happened, right? But it's interesting. It was Mike Stone has a different sort of rosy tinted glasses version of that time too. But he did enjoy it, obviously, because he got to play with one of his heroes and one of his longtime bands that he loved growing up with. So, but I thought it was very good, and I liked the comments he made about Queensryche and why he left and when he came back. Interesting that he was in a jazz trio for that long a time. In between that, I never would have pegged him as a jazz guitarist at that time, but interesting interview, and I think it's a good read if you're interested in him and Queensryche in that whole period.
Yeah, Talvis, Alex has carried the banner for Chris over the years, with material regularly being posted on YouTube, I believe from Mark Montague's collection. So rehearsals, all sorts of material. So I need to go back and really sit down with all that material. I have a reevaluation. But it was refreshing to have someone saying positive things about Kiss, positive things about the Peter Criss band and Peter's efforts as a solo artist in the early 90s, because it really gets lost in the muddle. And I actually like some of the stuff on those albums. And a lot of the demos going back to the stuff with Phil Narrow. So it was great to hear just the little slice of history, the positivity. It was refreshing. No axe to grind. It's really makes a nice change. Anyone else get a chance to check out that interview and share their thoughts?
Yeah, I read it as well. And we haven't really gone through the solo albums on the KissFAQ podcast, but the other week we did a deep dive into Chris Cat 1 at the Let Me Know podcast. And that was the first time I heard that album for decades. And I have to say, it's not one of my favorites. There are some stuff there that's okay, like Blue Moon over Brooklyn and one or two others, but I don't know, it wasn't a favorite of mine. So when I read this interview, the thing, much like Julian said, I was pleasantly surprised that this guy had such great memories of this time, and that he actually gave accolades to Peter Criss, and it seemed like he thought he treated him fairly, and that Peter Criss did a good job, because when you read the biography, this was really a downtime for Criss. And even when you read the lyrics to the songs, some of them are really paranoid and strange, those lyrics. So, but it's a cool listen. So if you have some time over, go back and listen to Chris Cat 1. It's a fun listen, but not one of my favorites.
Lonnie?
I have not read it, though.
Then you're going to go first on the Gene Simmons song. Ken, what about you? Did you check out the
I read it. Same thing. It was very positive, like you guys said. I like it, like you said. He was really excited. It says, I got to play, when I was playing with Peter, and I could hear his unique swing style of playing on a rock and roll song. And he says, I play, this is effing Peter Criss, and so I thought that's cool. I'm sure it was an exciting thing for him being a fan of Kiss. So yeah, it was a good little interview.
Yep, Titania, thanks for the catnips. Yeah, it was Could It Be Love, a sample of that went up today. There's one more queued up. We'll see how they do to justify whether they continue. And if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But all that stuff's out there. Yeah, so let's talk about Gene Simmons' new music. Well, kind of, sort of. With, what was the group? The Stylistics?
Stylistics, right.
Yeah, featuring Gene Simmons and the Tower of Power on Don't Leave Me Here. I was absolutely blown away by this. Lonnie, what were your thoughts on it?
I don't know if I have a lot of thoughts on it. I am unprepared for today's show.
Does someone not do their homework?
No problem. Let's go straight back to let's get back to the voice of reason. Let the mouth of Gene speak himself.
Mouth of Gene. I listened to it. I thought, oh yeah, Stylistics. Wow. I go, oh wow, okay. Because this, band that's been around a long time. I don't know if they're the original. I didn't check into that or anything. If it's any original guys, they look like it. They're pretty darn old. So I'm guessing they're possibly all original or close to it. But yeah, when I said Gene Simmons, I'm like, what? And I thought that was kind of coming out of left field, and so I thought, oh, yeah, okay, let's check this out. And it's good, nice song, cool song. It makes sense. I like, the horns and the whole bit, Tower of Power, that stuff. It's all produced well, nice song. Gene's vocals are pretty good. There's nothing wrong about it. I like his vocals on it. His little, it's not the main vocal, but he has some solo kind of vocals on it, and so on. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to hear Gene doing something, some recording still, and I'm hoping he does other recording, and maybe for himself or his band. If he gets the urge to do that, I'm sure they could whip out some of his old stuff that he's got sitting in the can.
We don't want him whipping any of his old stuff out. Not allowed to do that anymore.
Well, finish then.
Daniel.
The Tower of Power. Mark, isn't that a line from a Frank Zappa song, isn't it? I think it's a line from one of you
line
like
from
that
a
guy.
Gene Simmons song.
Yeah, there's a line from a few songs. Yeah,
it might be. But however, I can't understand how the hell Gene hooked up with these guys.
Yeah.
But it's really something from left field. That being said, I think it's pretty cool to hear that Gene still can carry a tune. I think his vocals are pretty good on this one. But what I would like to see is, of course, a EP or something from his Gene Simmons band, some rocking stuff. So, as we can hear, he still can bring it vocally. Why not release a few songs, write them together with your touring band and release them? That's what I would like to see. Or you can make sort of a live recording and release it on Spotify and YouTube and sell 100 LPs to the the real Kiss fans. So I would like to hear
Kiss fan.
Yeah, devoter, or there's other words for that, but I won't say that. But to the fans that like LPs, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not overbearing, but my immediate thing was, how is Gene all of a sudden interested in that sort of music? Yeah. And as noted by Super Zapper, that seemed to be stepping into Paul's territory a little bit, but Paul's not doing anything other than his art at the moment, and probably, I don't know if he can, to be perfectly honest, with how he sounds when he talks. So it was refreshing.
Gene's been piggybacking on Paul lately. He did the same stuff with, the paintings there. When he saw that Paul got some success with the paintings, he suddenly became a painter. Paul Stanley releases...
Yeah, he didn't keep going.
No, but he mimicked Paul at least. Just to show off,
See, Paul Stanley inspires everyone, Daniel, even Gene.
Yeah, or is it like this?
And
Well, Paul can do it. Gene says, I can do it better, and he wants to show Paul.
And clearly,
I'm going to get something. I think I have a Stylistics greatest hits. I'll bring it over here.
Why am I not surprised? Gene has a Stylistics greatest hits. I've got Little Lansing and the Imperials. All right, Mark, your thoughts, please, sir.
Well, I listened to it in full. The first time I listened to it, I was like, wait a minute, what is he doing in this song? The only time I kind of caught him was when he did that, that really deep little low voice thing in there that he kind of threw in. But I couldn't pick him out of his singing at first. I was like, that doesn't sound like his voice, normal voice. I had to go back a couple times, like, is that him singing there? I mean, it's clearly not his, his sort of, oh yeah voice or any of those voices in there. So Luckily, I mean, not luckily, but obviously he can sing in many different timbres of voice, and he can sing that style obviously pretty decently. So because I couldn't pick him out amongst the other, brothers in the choir there, I didn't, I guess it's a good showing of how he can do those different styles. Now he can kind of, blend in with it. Because I couldn't pick him out the first time around. I couldn't pick him out at all, what he was singing and what the other guys were singing at all. Maybe it was just me, but, maybe the tuned voice, Ken, the master and, sympathizer of Gene Simmons and all things Gene Simmons, probably he could have picked him out immediately when he heard his voice, because that's like the siren song for Ken, Gene's voice. So, whenever he hears him, it's music to his ear. So I don't know. I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
very nice.
By golly, wow.
Some of the big hits: "Betcha by Golly Wow," "Break Up to Make Up," "You Make Me Feel Brand New."
That's a song called "Wow" there.
"Betcha by Golly Wow." It's a good song.
I was gonna say that could be
it was a hit.
Lonnie.
I'm Stone in Love with You. You ever hear that one?
Wow.
No.
It has a lot of great songs on it. That's why I bought this one.
Okay, but Gene should make a cover.
Grew up with that.
From Break Up to
in the early
Make Up.
70s.
That would work perfect.
That'd be Peter, since that's the title of his
Break
book.
Yeah, exactly.
The Makeup
It
would be
is.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's stay on the new music theme, because these is how the shows are going to be. You just don't know what's going to happen now from week to week. There's going to be little bits of this, little bits of that, and podcasts are just going to focus on whatever is current, and then do our deep dives like we'll do next week into certain albums. So maybe Lonnie has an opinion on this, and Ace called into Eddie Trunk the other day. Or yesterday, it might have been actually, for the Cochran Memorial that Eddie was doing. And while on the air, he was talking to Eddie about Origins Volume 3. And he made the announcement that he wouldn't be using Steve Brown. He was going back to Alex Saltzman for Origins Volume 3. So, Lonnie, what's your thought on, Origins Volume 3, going back to the traditional kind of method Ace had of working with someone like Alex and putting Steve Brown to the side for now?
I'd rather stick with Steve Brown. I thought his new album sounded better than anything he's put out in a long time, including the Origins album. So I'm disappointed with that news, actually, because I think Steve Brown got more out of Ace than we had gotten in a while. I'm disappointed. I was not that I'm like waiting on pins and needles for the new Origins album. I mean, again. We've talked about that it'll come out. We'll listen to it for a week. We'll do a show about it, and then I don't know when I'll listen to it again after that. So, but I think it'd be different, and it'd be more exciting if he was sticking with Steve Brown. So I'm kind of disappointed about that.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about him talking about how he has a formula for these things and how easy it is to do, because he doesn't have to write the songs. So, I mean, that's perfect. That sounds perfect for AZ, who's, known to be a little bit lazy. But it also sounds like Lita Ford will be on speed dial. Maybe Bruce Kulick will be on speed dial, or Johnny Five. I want him to think outside the box when it comes to doing Origins. Each one shouldn't be like the other, but there should be a theme. So he also mentioned that he hadn't thought about redoing any Kiss songs on this one, which I think would be a very good idea, not to redo any Kiss songs. I wouldn't be against him redoing a Frehley's Comet song, or going back and maybe revisiting some other demos. Exactly, Danny. So what's your thoughts on that, Danny?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of great demos from the early 80s or the mid 80s that he could revisit and do something with. But I guess that could maybe be for the next record, his next record. And he didn't rule out still working with this Brown guy. So I think he'll reconnect with that guy for the next studio album, because the last studio album was pretty good, I think. I think it was way over what I expected him to be able to do at this point in time. So reconnect with that guy for the studio album. Origins is what it is, I have to agree with Lonnie. It's fun for a week or two, and then it's over. So it really doesn't matter. And it's been a long time since he made something special with a cover. he's known for being able to do covers and do them in a better way than the original was performed. But I think it was a long time ago since he really topped an original recording. So I think I don't have very high expectations. I do, however, think it's great that he's so productive and still put out records. You have to give him props for that. So I welcome the record, but it won't shake the ground or something for me.
Shake your foundations.
Yeah, that's what's the word I was looking for. Those big words that I always forget. But that's what was the word I was looking for. So yeah, it is what it is. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, Max had a good point in the chat. Ace's vocals sounded auto-tuned on 10,000 volts. And I think that was both a matter of necessity and also Steve Brown, that they had to get the album done, and it's quicker to say, I'll fix it, rather than Ace sing that again.
But
so,
real fast, I don't know if you guys seen some of his latest shows that have done, his live shows. I think some of them have been pretty good, I think. Both vocally and the way he's playing. So, he's kind of a hit and miss guy. Sometimes he nails it, and sometimes he doesn't. But I still think he can bring a pretty interesting show, and he can carry the vocals pretty well still.
Yeah, you also made another good point about he used to make covers his own. Now he just records the songs.
Yeah.
And I think it's a matter of time and effort that he doesn't spend enough time actually woodshedding that song and finding where Ace Frehley comes in and stamps it. So, Ken, sorry, I'm monologuing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fine. Yeah, he's going to have someone else to do Origins, I guess, or back to what he's done before. I'd rather have Steve Brown probably too. With it, if it's going to be like his prior two, I'm unless there's something exciting on there, I'm not gonna buy it. Wow. I'm just not gonna buy it unless there's something really good that entices me, like Gene Simmons.
This is big news.
Yeah, let's change that.
like Gene, his vocal
Game changer.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't listen to the prior. I just don't listen to him. No. I probably listened to them like once or twice, and then that's it. They're filed away. I have no desire to go back to those. I'd rather go back to his regular solo albums instead of the Origins. That's what I want. I want him to do the solo stuff and redo some of his old demos.
But Ken, which is your favorite Ace Frehley solo album?
Other than
1978?
Yeah. Well, that doesn't count. We all love
all right.
that.
Well, I don't know. I like the first Frehley's Comet album. I like Trouble Walking. I like Space Invader a lot. So those few, I like a lot.
I go for Trouble Walking. Easy.
Yeah, it's a good album.
All right, Mark, you've been so patient.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same camp with you guys. I have the Origins on both CD and vinyl, unbelievably, but I never listened to them. I mean, I think that when the first one came out, I listened to it once on vinyl and maybe once in the car on CD, and the same thing with the second one as well. And the whole Steve Brown thing doesn't really affect me one way or another because it's covers. If this was another album of originals, then I would be very concerned if he didn't bring him back, because he obviously helped them immensely in that record. But cover songs, I mean, as long as you pick a decently good cover song, you can't really botch it too badly. I mean, even Ace couldn't really probably botch them too badly. But as long as it's a decent song that people like, you can't go wrong with like a Thin Lizzy song or a Deep Purple song or hey, here's an idea: do a UFO song, dude. That would be a good idea, or something along that lines, or a Grand Funk or something, and get Bruce to come in and guest on it. Just I think that there's not so much of a concern with that, and maybe he's also doesn't have to pay as much to have the other guy with him as much as he would have had to maybe with the other dude. Who knows? That could be a factor as well. Right, but I don't know. I'm kind of like with Ken. I have two of them. the third one, there's had to be something really, really impressive on there to kind of go down that road now, especially since vinyl's gone up so much in cost over the last year or so. I'm not going to drop like $50 for a single record, or $60 odd for a double record of Ace Frehley covers. So I'll just buy the digital version, and that's the end of that.
Hey, a great question from Wade Lucas. Julian, you have to address that one.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't really have any comment on that other than what I may have said in the threads, which anyone can go and read. It's just been done to death, and to be perfectly honest, I'm completely tired of the whole fiasco surrounding the Sam Loomis shit, which just bores me no end at this point. So
Daniel
sorry.
loves bringing up the controversy.
Yeah,
Well, that's his job. He likes to throw me in the deep end and watch me squirm.
That's very unsweetish. You guys are very neutral.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
No,
Yeah,
again, when I can answer, I will answer stuff, but I don't have anything to add. We've all seen the drama going around. We've all seen someone being thrown under the bus for whatever reasons, and eventually they call it lash out or try and set
I'm rooting for Andrew in this.
No, you're not. You're rooting for Sam Loomis because you guys all want more fucking video. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Sam Loomis. Whoever you are, you're the Sam Loomis for president. Our most successful episode that year.
Yeah, no, those did do very well, and a bunch of Van Halen shit dropped the other day as well for that world.
Yeah,
I found that nauseatingly boring. Most of it was silent. I just don't love Van Halen enough to give a shit. I think I watched 2.5 videos, scanned through some others. I'm like, this is as bad as watching 8mm silent footage. Just did nothing for me. So
I hate that too. The 8mm.
Yes,
stuff.
you did, Wade. You know it. And if not, Daniel certainly did. Let's move on rapidly.
Rapidly. The next subject.
Now for something completely different. Okay.
Yeah. How about Bruce Kulick? We were talking about him a moment ago, and he's had his memories up on Ultimate Guitar of recalling jamming with Ace and Vinnie Vincent. Bruce Kulick reveals what went wrong at that event, and that was.
Did any one of you attend that show?
Hell no.
No.
No. What went wrong is Neil had the audacity to think that he could put Vinnie Vincent in a musical scenario that didn't end as a clusterfuck.
It was close. I think it was pretty close. He succeeded, but
respect to Neil.
Close.
Neil brought it.
close.
Neil brought
no
the
cigar.
event. That's where the Loomis shit first started surfacing.
Well,
by the way,
the
that
other
event,
show-
people were selling Largo. But the show, go.
Yeah, no, we got the episode on KissFAQ, which is called "Wank on the Tank." So that's what came out of that thing. And
Great
yeah,
title.
I heard the Bruce Kulick, or read it, or I can't remember. I think I read it. And yeah, I mean, he was pretty good about it, but he knew it was kind of messed up, and with the they were expecting a drummer out there, and no drummer was there, and then there was a drum machine, and then they had to try to, I guess, count in,
backing tracks they had.
Yeah, backing tracks, and it was just a mess.
It's just basically one of those. It's just basically a shred backing track. It's just like three chords over and over again, and need a solo over top of it. I mean,
yeah, and then he did
his
his shredding. Just
solos can do that.
His crazy shredding, noodling thing, and it's just. Yeah, to me that was kind of too bad. Though I think Bruce did say he enjoyed at least being with the other guys, to a degree, and
he
more so Ace.
The history of the moment, the three of them.
And Ace is like, oh well, if you're gonna do it, I'll do it, kind of thing. You go out there and just and perform because it's for, like Bruce said, for the fans mostly anyway.
Yeah, Solani, the Ank guitar wank on the tank that stank.
Yeah, and Bruce talked about how he had high hopes for it, and I could, Bruce kind of reminds me of Ken. Ken's a little bit. Like he's a nice guy. He is. He's a nice guy. He's hopeful about things. It kind of reminded me of Ken in this interview. Like, oh, I had high hopes for this, and like optimistic Ken. I always tease him about. And it just turns out to be a disaster. We've seen the footage. It just turns out just to be like, what are we doing? So, I read it too. Like, we thought, well, I think they kind of got there, and it's just like, really, this is how it's going to be. This is what we're doing. Like, the count in, and like, this is not what I, like that he had built it up in his mind. I think of how it was going to be. And,
yeah.
I think he was disappointed in how it turned out, and I think a lot of the people that were there felt the same way. So.
Yeah. Hey, Vinny loved the moment. You see him standing up on that stage. I mean, he looked like a guitarist in a puddle of water getting tasered. All right, Daniel.
In the center on top.
Yeah, there's nothing more to say about that. It was a great idea. I think the guy who put it all together did his best, but you can't really do anything more than this with Vinnie Vincent. He's a nutcase, and we all know that. So this was, and after this, we've seen actually nothing from Vinnie. So this is kind of his last hooray, being up on that tank, wanking the hell out of the guitar with a backing track. He didn't want a drummer. What crazy shit is that? I don't want a drummer. I want a backing track. I've never heard any guitarist say that. So, it is what it is. But I think it was pretty funny to watch from afar.
Yeah. All right, Mark, last.
Well, it's funny when you say that you've never heard of any guitar player who wanted no drummer. If you read that Bobby Rock story about him when he was with Vinnie and they were doing the album, Vinnie made it very clear that he just couldn't stand drummers and that he loves the sound of drum machines, that he would rather that any day of the week than any kind of drummer, which I don't understand either.
But Mark, you being a guitarist, you don't love the sound.
No, I don't love it. I mean, I love playing with a human being, obviously, because you have the interaction between them and different feels and different, things happen back and forth. You can improvise easier with a real person, right? So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that, of course, but I mean, for him, obviously, the promoter guy wanted to keep him most comfortable in the situation because I guess he had the feeling that if anything was even the slightest bit wrong, he could see Vinnie out the door, like running out the door with bags in hand, right? So he probably wanted to keep everything happy with him, and then Ace and Bruce were left looking at each other with their hands like, what the fuck's going on here? And, hats off to them, though, especially Ace, for kind of just saying, you know what, Bruce, if you do it, I'll do it. And, we'll just go up there and play. And then wasn't there a situation, too, where they said that Ace's speaker went out? Like somebody yanked the speaker cord out of his cabinet and his guitar dropped for a minute. I mean, it just sounds like complete disaster waiting to happen there for that whole thing. So I really think that it's maybe one of those historical moments, if just to see a moment where there's those three people on the same stage together, you probably never, ever see that ever again happen. So in that sense, maybe it's a historical Kiss moment, but I would never implore anyone to go searching through the YouTube archives looking for that moment, because you're not missing too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, it just sounded like a moment of professionalism, and I'm not surprised at all by Bruce Kulick being professional. I more admire Ace's reaction to it, how there was some camaraderie and mutual support. Let's just do it. So there was some outside thinking about the fans, or maybe it was their own reputations as well at stake on that. So again, respect to Neil for trying it, but let's move on. Lonnie, I don't know if you had a chance to check out Destroyer as if it was recorded in the 50s. There's a link for that, and I strongly recommend checking it out. It is one of the wildest things that anyone can hear. And they're doing this. They've got Metallica Master of Puppets as if it was recorded. It's wild shit, Daniel.
I've listened to it. It's fantastic, and at the same time really scary, because I guess this is AI doing the stuff. And I mean, that 50s version of Detroit Rock City, it's pretty good. I think
Oh.
it's yeah, but if you like 50s music, I think, everything from the vocals to the playing, it sounds pretty cool. It's scary, I think. To me, it's just plain scary that people can press a button and create a record that would take, months to record a few years back, and now they just do it by pressing a few buttons. And I don't know where all this music thing is going from here, because this is just crazy. And the Metallica stuff, same thing. Sounds like it's supposed to sound. It sounds like the real thing, and you still have the vocals sounding cool and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. Now the stretch will be to have something recorded in the 50s sound like it was recorded in the 90s. I want to see the flip side of the coin. I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought God of Thunder was fantastic, and Beth was actually incredible.
Mark is just laughing through the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fake shit, but come on,
Yeah.
for a momentary diversion, Mark.
I couldn't think of something more painful for me to listen to than Destroyer, and then put into a 50s version on top of that.
Well, it
I
wasn't
feel
produced by
uptight.
Bob Ezrin.
On
Yeah, it
a
wasn't
Saturday
produced by-
night.
Yeah. Is it the best?
Right.
You
9
should,
o'clock.
you should enjoy it.
AI
Radio
Bob.
is the only love.
You should
I mean-
enjoy the production.
No, you know what I especially didn't enjoy it is because, listen, I would have gave it a lot more props if it was actually somebody who went down,
Of
recorded
course.
it
Yeah.
with real instrumentation, did it
course.
himself and sang, and I would say, okay, great. He kind of, kind of like how that Double Vertigo guy did his remake of that Kiss song there and did it a 70s style.
Secret. Don't get me started on Secretly Cool.
Yeah,
Secretly
that's-
Cruel.
Yeah, like that I tip my hat on, because he took the song, made it into a 70s version, but he did it all himself. He did the music all himself. He re-sang it himself. But there's nothing to be proud of with this. It's just a fucking bad record done in AI, and it was very difficult listen. I mean, some of it was comical, I found on there, but I mean, come on, man, if you're going to go down that path, record it. Pick up your guitar. If you were smart enough to think of this idea, then be smart enough to record it yourself and then show me your real talent of this. I mean, any Joe Schmo can go on there and say, hey, I got a great idea. Let's take a Green Day album and make it sound how it would be in the 40s. And then let AI do it all. Like, give me a break. Come on.
But I think that's a problem in the future. That will be the thing. Any guy
I hope
will
not.
will be able to record anything, and it will sound pretty good.
But that's not a real
No, it's not.
musician.
But
That's
it's
complete
just
bullshit.
the way of.
That's the way
That's
it's
how
going.
it is now. That's where it's going.
Yeah, or the upgrade to auto-tune is going to be one hell of a tool. Basically it takes out the band, the writers, and everything out of the equation. So now it's auto-tune is literally
You
automatically
just put in.
created.
If
See
you
that-
just,
and
if
this Wade guy.
if you do a great prompt, you get a great album.
Embrace the technology. I embrace technology every day with musical stuff, but I mean, technology in tandem with people who actually have talent is one thing, but technology it's just plain laziness. That's all it is. It's complete laziness.
There's a matter of balance. AI is here. There's nothing we
Yeah.
can do about it. AI has, already ravaged the FAQ and all my books and everything that I've ever created.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But I use AI on a daily basis when it comes to image cleanup, when it comes to AI stem separation for cleaning up audio, for fixing bits of songs that are chopped out. So I haven't gone to the level of turning, say, Straight Outta Compton into a Mexican mariachi version. And I never will, because there is abuse of technology. There always will be. Ken, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I've heard that one. And they did another one too. Didn't they do another Kiss one too? But anyway, the music is not at all the same music. It's just made up music, pretty much, to the lyrics of the Kiss songs. So there's nothing resembling the Kiss, song structure or anything. To me, it's a waste of time. I mean, I think, yeah, it sounds like 50s, and it's using Kiss lyrics from that album and that sort of thing. but it's like, whatever. I remember buying a CD. I think I still have it. Back years, early 2000s, there was a Kiss Bluegrass.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, see, yeah.
Hillbilly
I thought that was kind of
I think it
fun.
was.
That was actually kind of fun, and it was like, oh, this is actually not too bad, surprisingly. And I like bluegrass.
Hasty Dixie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right. And I thought
that's
that
good,
was
though,
kind of
yeah.
fun. Yeah, that
fun.
is. And people actually, like you said, Mark,
Yeah. They
recorded
performed
the
on it.
music, and it wasn't
Performed,
AI and all this
arranged.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some, what do you call it? Realness to it. Of course, realness to it, but something about it. Soul, I guess is the
Authentic.
word. Authentic and soul to the performances and stuff like that, where AI has no soul.
There you go.
Exactly.
It doesn't. All right, I just want to quickly touch on Rome Loves Dan. Had Ace should record all the classic 78 type songs. Yeah, it's a shame Tom passed away. So I don't know what the future for Classic 78 is going to be. But you made me think of something. Ace should actually go in and record one of the Kiss songs post his lineup. He's already done Rock and Roll Hell. But on the farewell tour, they did
What song?
Heaven's on Fire, I Love It Loud, Lick It Up. Ace Frehley doing Lick It Up, or Ace Frehley doing Psycho Circus.
No.
Out of this world. Ace Frehley doing Out of This World.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Paul Stanley, the very last show. He explained why no members were featured at the end of the road tour because it wasn't about them. It wasn't about celebrating the start of the band. It was about celebrating the end of the band. Lonnie, did you happen to have a chance to read any of the Paul stuff this week?
I did, and Paul's wrong. It's not about the end of it was not about the end of the band. It was about the culmination of the very last show, of it coming to an end, and how. And he's totally wrong. The history of the band should have been celebrated. It should not have been like every other show on the end of the road tour. We joked about it. We joked when those two shows were announced. We had a show. We speculated, what could they do? What are they going to do for these final two shows? And I remember saying, what if the last two shows are just like every other show on the end of the road tour? And we all laughed, like, oh yeah, that'd be really stupid. We all laughed at how dumb that would be. And there's no way it'll be like that. And it's exactly what it was. And Paul's dead wrong. It should have been about the history of the band. If it wasn't about the history of the band and it wasn't about celebrating everything, then why have them in New York where it all began? Why not have it in Tulsa, Oklahoma then? Well, this is just where the tour ends. If it's about the end of the band, why did you go back to New York and do it then? That's what Jericho should have followed up with, but he's not going to ask. He's not going to challenge Paul or anything like that.
No, boom. Very, very good point. I want to read the quotes, and this is, of course, off the Jericho podcast. Paul said, to be somewhat diplomatic, there were people who made unrealistic demands of what they required, and it's not about that. It wasn't, for example, a celebration of the beginning of the band. It was a celebration of 50 years of the band, as opposed to a tribute to the start. So as far as Ace Frehley, Peter, they weren't there for many reasons. And I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it another 100 times. We couldn't be here today without what those guys did, and we couldn't be here without... yeah. Ken?
Yeah, but sorry.
He contradicts himself a lot, Paul, on some of these same questions that he has in different interviews. But yeah, he likes to use the one that we couldn't be here with or without the, and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure there was demands from Ace and maybe Peter, whether it was money or Ace wanted to be in makeup with them on stage for a couple of songs or not. I don't know what the freaking big deal is. Just do it. And it's just two shows. It's okay. To me, it's okay to do that. Celebrate. Ace freaking designed the makeup. Jeez, give him a break. So I think they just squandered a really big opportunity on that those two shows. He also, Paul said, talking about, we did have them on the screen, the video screen, with overlays and all that kind of bullshit. Excuse my language. But it's like, come on, you could have had them there, especially Bruce. I mean, he's the freaking been good from day one when he joined. Never says any bad things. Did everything great through the whole time, and he wasn't even asked. And that's coming out from Bruce's mouth. He said he was never asked. So he didn't have any demands. So why didn't you just have him? It's just, and tribute. It was technically it's kind of a half a tribute. Band. I don't have to say that, but it's kind of true in a sense. So I just don't like the whole thing. That was really messed up. I know it was Paul. It wasn't Gene. It was Paul. I guarantee it. So it's just too bad. The whole thing's too bad.
They weren't celebrating 50 years of the band, as far as I'm concerned, because of it all being a setup for the Avatars. So. I respect Paul having his opinion of why people weren't there, but to say that it was a celebration of 50 years when it was the same set for 5 years, and yeah, sure, no one made us go to all these shows, but it was a setup for a commercial for the future. That's all it was. It was like a monster book or a gold coin. The expectation and anticipation of maybe special guests will join us. That was just strung along the whole fucking tour.
5 years.
It was just a carrot and we were the donkeys. But then again, who actually believed them? They said, I saw some fans saying, but they did invite the former members. They said it in interviews. That's not the same as inviting an original founding member of the band respectfully. You don't do it in public. If you're inviting someone properly, you're laying out the expectations and the reward, because this is KISS. No one does shit for free when it comes to KISS, and they should know that better than anyone. To think that their former members would do anything for free, or that Ace didn't have demands, as silly as some of them appeared to be. Yeah, wait, I saw the news on David Johannes passing away. That's a fucking pisser. Here's a big fuck you to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Right. You left them out until they're all dead, you fucking bastards. Yep. Sorry, what was I saying? Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I read one thing on there that kind of made me take little interest in the interview, was when he said, well, what were we going to do? Roll a bunch of film footage of the old members? And right whenever I said that or saw that, I was like, yeah, why not? Like, why not just show a bunch of things? I mean, what I don't understand is when Chris Squire died in Yes, they did a tour, okay, right after he passed away. And before the band went on stage, there was a 20-minute thing at the beginning of the show where they just had Chris Squire's guitar in the middle of the stage with a single spotlight on it. And on the back screen, they showed a bunch of footage of him from throughout his whole career. And then he said, and at the end, it was like, thank you, Chris, for all, we love you, blah, blah, blah. At the end, how simple it is to do something just so simple like that. And the fans all loved it. Why couldn't KISS have done something like that? Sure, and they could have even made it more grandiose in KISS style, make it like explosions and this and that, make it look really KISS-like, right? And that wouldn't have took them that much to do that. And what would that have cost? A few, a couple $1,000 and 10 minutes before the show starts. Come on, that is so simple. Go ahead, Lonnie. I know you want to say something there.
Sorry. On Farewell Tour 1. How they originally started those shows was there was like a 10-minute little like history of the band that they did. True. And they quickly axed it. And we've all seen that footage before. But what stopped you from doing something like that, either before the show or after the main set and before the encore? Have like a 10-minute just a celebration of a history of the band for 10 minutes. Like Mark said, it wouldn't have cost you anything to do that. And it could have been and there could have at least, and then you could have the people sitting there watching it on pay-per-view could have seen it, in full view, and the people at the show could have seen it up on the Jumbotron. What was stopping you from doing that? And at least a tip of the cap to Ace, to Peter, to Vinnie, Mark, Bruce, and everybody who's been right. what was that? There's nothing stopping you from doing that. It wouldn't have cost you much money to put something like that together. You have all that footage. You know, that's you could have at least done something like that. That was really. It's just the more you think about it, the more it gets me riled up.
It almost seems like, and I really hope that it isn't this petty a thing, but it almost makes me feel like Paul just wants to stand on that stone till the very end on the top of the hill, showing that, he did it his way. He didn't want to have anybody else, tell him how to do it. He did it his way, and that's it. I almost get that feeling that he didn't want to, okay, I'll do it for you guys. I'll make, you know what I mean? He seems like that kind of guy. Is like, no, I don't want to do it, and we're not going to do it, which is so sad considering what happened throughout their whole career. All these people did. I mean, especially Eric Carr. I mean, the man who pretty much had the time of his life in the band when he first started. And, a lot of if you listen to Kiss fans, they'll say that he was their favorite member for a long time when he was around and alive, right? So, why not at least, come on, think of him at least. If you're not going to think of the rest of the guys, like I said, a 10-minute thing would have been very simple.
All right. Everyone speak?
I could add a few things. The only thing I think was interesting in that interview was that some of the members had demands that we couldn't meet, sort of. That was the one thing that Paul Stanley said, and that means that they had been in contact with former members. I think that was the only interesting thing in that interview, the only thing that was new. Otherwise, it was just the same old, and we all know. I remember doing shows here on the KissFAQ before the last show, and no one of us had great expectations for that show. Maybe Ken did, but the rest of us were more realistic, and we knew that we knew nothing special would happen. So we knew it prior to the show happening. But I think that was pretty interesting that he said some of the members had. I don't recall the quote, but it was something like they had outrageous demands. So they must have been in contact with.
No, I don't think they had to be in contact because Ace was saying his shit in the press. Ace was saying, "I want $500,000."
Okay, so they never even bothered. So they didn't even bother to call them. And Bruce, well, it doesn't bring a lot of interest from the regular fans. So. Why bother? I think Paul. That's the way Paul thinks. So I think it was what it was. It wasn't those two concerts seemed pretty fun to me, but it was more of the same that we've seen for the previous year. So I don't know. It was lazy of them, and I think Ken has a point, or if it was Mark, that Paul Stanley wants to reign supreme.
Yeah, I enjoyed the shows for what they were, but it was, again, more about the fans and getting back to the hotel and talking with you guys immediately after.
And do the encores.
Yeah, and the encores back at my hotel room on my own. Yeah. So let's finish today with Evan and Nick. And they've dropped another song that they're working on that they just happened to work together. I can't remember the third fella's name, but it sounds like that they've got 10 songs. And I'm actually okay with this. I always wipe anything to do with the kids of Kiss off the main FAQ channel because I'm like, these guys have to stand on their own and make it legitimately with Amber Wild or Amber Waves or whatever it is, or Jupiter's Crush or the previous project that Evans worked on. I know he's a legitimate guitarist. I know that he's got the chops. I know he's got skills. I know that he's got his father's stage presence, that he's got a rapport with the crowd and knows how to work it. To me, he just doesn't have the music yet, or the band members. To be perfectly honest, and no disrespect to any of those guys who he plays with. I'm just talking my opinion. So I was excited to see him and Nick. When they first had the Instagram of doing Sounds of Silence and harmonizing, it took me back to 87 and the Exposed video when Gene and Paul were doing that. Harmonizing and talking about busking on street corners, bullshitting and all that. And it actually made me smile. And then they dropped the slightly longer one of them just kind of jamming out an idea. And I'm like, this stuff has potential in its own right, regardless of who their parents are. This isn't Nepo baby music, though I'm sure that'll play a part of it. And I have no problem with nepotism. Your parents work hard. If they want to fucking give you a leg up, that's their fucking business, not anyone else's. So I'm actually interested in seeing what these two guys can do. Nick can sing.
Hell yeah.
Evan can fucking play and sing. So it's not Kiss 2. It has nothing to do with Kiss. Lonnie.
I think it's very interesting. I think it's something that I think a lot of people in the Kiss Army have talked about over the years. Like, oh, they should collaborate and do something together. I know where Mark's going to go when we get to him,
Yeah,
but I think it's fun at least, and I think that you're right. It's going to have a sense of nepotism to it, but I also feel like with there's not a whole lot going on in the Kiss world. I mean, there's these box sets coming out and this and that, but I think a lot of Kiss fans will at least be intrigued by it and give it a listen and see what it's all about. So I'm definitely intrigued by it. I'm rooting it on. So I don't think it's going to go where Mark thinks it's going to go. So, but I think that would be silly. But I'm definitely intrigued by it.
Yep, Ken.
Yeah, I've always
faster.
I always I agreed that if there was a possibility that the two of them could get together and do something, though I personally don't think it would ever be Kiss. I think they would try to do their own thing, obviously, and it seems like they've written 10 songs. The most recent song, I really like the sound of the groove of it. There's something there to that latest song. I could hear it as a rock song, and hopefully, I don't know if they're gonna do rock or half mellow rock. I don't know, but I could see that. I could hear that as a good rock song. There's something there. It has good structure to it, and it sounds good. So it seems their voices, blend well together, just like Gene and Paul did. So yeah, there could be something there. I hope they, give it a shot, and we'll see what happens with it. Now, Mark.
Yeah, I thought the little song that they posted was better than the most recent Amber Wild song that didn't come out too long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm just going to say this. I've said it before, episodes and episodes back again. I was laughed at, and even when I implied that those two guys should get together and do something. This is before they even did anything together. Before it was even a thought. Then they did something together. People are loving it and embracing, and that's great. I think it's a great thing that they're doing that, And like I said, and I think I put it on a message board somewhere I messaged something about it. But I said that they're going extremely smart about this, and of course they'd have two very smart people in their circle, their fathers, who could guide them through this. Which could take your time. There's no need to rush with this. They can just, put out some stuff together, get people used to the idea of those two working together, because they have one unfortunate problem with them doing stuff on their own. They will be forever in the shadow of their fathers, forever. I don't care what anybody says. They will always be in the shadow of them. Nothing that they do will be able to break out of that above Kiss, because unfortunately, Kiss was such a huge thing in American, history and musicana and all that stuff. Like they said, Kiss was like as American as apple pie. So it's hard to break through that and do something better to that to make them forget about their fathers. Okay, so I think that they're just going about this very smart. Release some music, do some stuff together, and when the time is right and the people that they find that's the perfect fit for it, I still believe wholeheartedly, maybe not next year, maybe not in 3 years, but give it time, because if there's one thing that Gene and Paul will never want to have happen is for Kiss to fade away completely. And what better way for it to continue is to have their own flesh and blood continue the legacy. And if anything, I think Kiss fans would have a much better time with having the offspring of Kiss people continue the band than having somebody like Tommy Thayer or these other people get dressed up in makeup who have no real connection to it other than just being hired into it. That's what I've always thought.
But a great comment from Super Zapper, Wolfgang Van Halen. He carries on the legacy of his father. You can hear it at times in his music, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
If Nick happens to have an "oh yeah" or a growl, that because he has the DNA, I'm okay with that. But let's just say this is not Kiss 2. This is something else. You know,
Not
this is
yet.
Like Nelson. This is like Nelson. Nelson wasn't like Ricky Nelson, were they? You know, so
Yeah, but they did nothing either.
It's just
they faded
yeah,
out
no,
as
it's just a
eventually
matter-
too.
It's just like, just the fans need to understand. Don't be fucking stupid. Don't be silly and think that these guys are going to slap on the paint and be their parents.
I think
You know?
the problem might be that that old Kiss song from Hot in the Shade, Silver Spoon. They are kind of born with a silver spoon up their ass. They don't have the grit or the will to make it, because they know that in a decade or 1.5 decade they will have all the money that they need until the end of their own lives. So I think the problem with these two guys, they have the talent, they have the expression, they know how to make great music, but I think they're kind of resting on their laurels, thinking that we got the Kiss money in a decade or two, and why bother? So I haven't really seen, that
Drive?
the will to create. For example, Gene's boy there, Nick, he's been doing, some great stuff musically. He sang a song on one of Bruce's records, sounded great. For a while he made comics until people realized that he was copying other stuff, so that came to an end. But he's doing this and that. They don't have the drive. Remember Gene and Paul back in the 70s? I mean, they were playing
Starving.
starving, playing for scraps, but still working
Can I
each
just-
and every day. The drive.
Can I just say one
I think,
thing?
yeah.
But
only one.
All I want to say is just this. Back in the early 80s, Dweezil Zappa said he wanted nothing to do with his father's stuff. He wanted to break out on his own and do his own thing. And right now, the biggest part of his career is him doing the whole Zappa plays Zappa thing now. I like I said before, I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It might not happen in 5 years, it may not happen, but eventually.
But isn't that the same thing? They're kind of resting on the laurels. They try it on their own way. Wow, this is tough. This takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Why don't I just use my father's name and do something with that? That's much easier, and you gain a lot more money that way. So I think Gene and Gene's boy Nick and the other guy, I think they will sort of, they will never make any substantial, mark.
Nick and the other guy, that's the name of the band.
No, look up to their fathers and, use the Kiss money.
Yeah, but even rich people have struggles.
Yeah,
but
everyone has.
Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons,
Especially Paul.
grew up with challenges, so that comes into their art and their lives. But Sophie's made some. I was nearly going to say decent music, but I haven't exactly listened to any of it. But she did get some awards and stuff, and some press out of it. So
yeah, but the problem is, Nick, he's a great singer. He's a great performer. But you play a club and then you go back to your mansion. I mean, it doesn't work. Yeah, but he earned it.
No, David Lee Roth was privileged. His father was a doctor.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
Who knows? How about this?
Yep.
Guys, I level this challenge. Let's see what they do and then judge them.
Yeah, I said give it time and let's see what happens.
Because if they're singing the blues about a lukewarm latte at Starbucks, then it's okay to savage them. But I want to see if anything comes of this, number one, and then I'll judge it musically on whether it works for my tastes.
They're talented. They don't have the drive.
Let's find out.
We'll see.
Yeah, you'll see.
All right. So that's a bunch of topics on the board this week. Thanks for joining us live while we've, gone around the table as much as we could. We skipped a few topics. Unfortunately, we skipped the 25th anniversary of the Blue Room. So I'm going to make up for that by going off and listening to it. I want to thank everyone who's joined us live this week with your comments. As always, they're very much a part of the show and make it fun doing. So for now, from Lonnie, from Ken, Mark, Daniel, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.